Everything about the Partridge family looked perfect on screen. A family united by music, love, and laughter. But behind the scenes, fame came at a devastating price. One actor lost everything to addiction. Another fought a battle that nearly cost her life. And time has taken away many of the stars who made the series unforgettable. Stay with us as we uncover the incredible true stories of the cast and where they are now in 2026. David Cassidy as Keith Partridge. David Cassidy was just 20 years old when he won the role of Keith Partridge, the handsome eldest son and lead singer of the Partridge family band. In an unexpected twist, the producers initially had no idea he could sing and planned to use another vocalist for the recordings. Everything changed once they heard Cassidy's remarkable voice. He was allowed to perform the songs himself, and that decision transformed him into one of the world's biggest teen idols, sparking the global phenomenon known as Cassidy Mania. Few fans realized that behind the screaming crowds was a young man carrying deep emotional scars. His father, actor Jack Cassidy, struggled with severe alcoholism, and David later recalled watching him drink as many as 15 glasses of scotch in a single sitting. As fame exploded almost overnight, the relentless pressure of celebrity pushed David down a similar path. He battled alcohol addiction for decades, endured 3 failed marriages, and was arrested multiple times for driving under the influence. In early 2017, Cassidy told People magazine that he had dementia, the same illness that had affected both his mother and grandfather. It seemed like a heartbreaking final chapter, until the documentary David Cassidy, The Last Session, released shortly after his death, revealed a shocking truth. Cassidy admitted on camera, "There are no signs of me having dementia at this stage of my life. It was completely alcohol poisoning." He confessed that he had lied about the diagnosis to hide both his drinking and the emotional pain he had struggled to escape for years. On November 21st, 2017, David Cassidy died at a hospital in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at the age of 67 from liver and kidney failure. His passing brought to an end a nearly 5-decade career filled with extraordinary success, but also profound personal struggles, forever cementing his legacy as one of the defining teen idols of the 1970s. Susan Dey as Laurie Partridge. In 1970, at 17 years old, Susan Dey beat out numerous experienced actresses to win the role of Laurie Partridge, despite having no professional acting experience. As the eldest daughter and talented pianist of the family band, her natural screen presence quickly won over audiences and helped make Laurie one of the most beloved characters on the Partridge family. The series also launched Dey from an unknown teenager into one of television's brightest young stars. Behind that success, however, she was fighting a painful battle in silence. Obsessed with achieving the impossibly thin look made fashionable by model Twiggy, Dey developed severe anorexia during the show's 4-season run from 1970 to 1974. At her lowest point, she became so malnourished that she stopped menstruating, and her fingertips reportedly turned orange because her extreme diet consisted of little more than carrots. The eating disorder continued to affect her for years, requiring extensive therapy. Even in a 1993 interview, Dey admitted she was still working every day to overcome the illness completely. After reclaiming her health, Dey enjoyed an extraordinary second act in Hollywood. She earned critical acclaim as attorney Grace Van Owen on the hit legal drama L.A. Law, a performance that won her a Golden Globe Award. Away from the cameras, she rebuilt her personal life as well, marrying television producer Bernard Safransky in 1988, after her first marriage to Leonard Hershen ended in divorce. By 2026, at 73 years old, Susan Dey has completely stepped away from the entertainment industry. She rarely grants interviews, declines nearly every cast reunion, and has deliberately chosen a life of privacy, leaving behind the spotlight that once made her one of America's most recognizable television stars. Shirley Jones as Shirley Partridge Academy Award winner. Shirley Jones made a surprising career decision when she accepted the role of Shirley Partridge when she was 36 years old. Instead of continuing her demanding film career, she chose to play the widowed mother and leader of a family band traveling across America in a brightly painted bus. It was a deliberate move, giving her the stability of a television series and more time to raise her children while still doing the work she loved. Ironically, the stable family life she portrayed on screen was far from the reality she faced at home. Jones was married to actor Jack Cassidy, the father of David Cassidy, the young actor who would later play her son on The Partridge Family. Jack's repeated affairs and struggles with bipolar disorder gradually destroyed their marriage, leading to their divorce in 1974. Just 2 years later, tragedy struck when Jack died in a fire at his apartment after reportedly falling asleep while smoking while intoxicated. Jones eventually found the lasting happiness she had been searching for when she married comedian Marty Ingalls in 1977. Despite their famously unconventional relationship, the couple remained devoted to each other until Ingalls' death in 2015. In 2013, Jones surprised fans by publishing a candid memoir that revealed deeply personal stories and the hidden struggles behind her wholesome Hollywood image. By 2026, at 92 years old, Shirley Jones lives a peaceful life away from the spotlight, surrounded by her children and grandchildren. Among them is David Cassidy, the son of her first husband, whom she famously portrayed as her own son throughout all 4 seasons of The Partridge Family, forever blending fiction and real life in one of television's most memorable family stories. Suzanne Cruff as Tracy Partridge. Producers knew they had found the perfect Tracy Partridge almost immediately. Suzanne Cruff was only 7 years old when she won the role of the youngest member of the Partridge family, charming everyone with her adorable personality and remarkable ability to learn scripts quickly. As the little girl who happily played the tambourine alongside her musical family, she became a beloved part of the series from its debut in 1970. After the Partridge Family ended in 1974, Cruff appeared in only a handful of projects, including Mulligan's Stew in 1977, before making the unusual decision to leave Hollywood for good. She graduated from Pierce College and later opened a bookstore in Temecula, California. In a 1993 interview with People magazine, she reflected on her choice by saying, "There is a life after acting," proving that not every child star was destined to be consumed by Hollywood. In 1985, she married William Condrey, a former police officer who later became an attorney, and together they raised 2 daughters, Samantha and Alexandra. When she reunited with her former castmates on The Today Show in 2010, Cruff revealed that she was happily working as a manager at an Office Max store in Arizona, embracing a quiet and ordinary life far removed from television fame. On April 27, 2015, just a few months before her 30th wedding anniversary, Suzanne Cruff died suddenly at her home in Laughlin, Nevada, at the age of 52. The cause was arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, a rare form of cardiomyopathy that triggered a fatal heart rhythm disorder and had gone undetected by both her family and her doctors. Jeremy Gelbwax as Christopher "Chris" Partridge. Jeremy Gelbwax was just 9 years old when he became the first actor to play Chris Partridge, the young drummer of the Partridge Family Band, during the show's inaugural season in 1970. After appearing throughout Season 1, he left the series before production began on the 2nd season. The official explanation was that his family was relocating to the East Coast, bringing his time on the hit sitcom to an unexpectedly early end. Behind the scenes, however, the story was more complicated. Years later, cast members including Shirley Jones and David Cassidy recalled that Gelbwax often struggled to fit in with the rest of the ensemble and did not seem to enjoy acting. According to their recollections, his playful behavior and difficulty adapting to the demands of production ultimately led the producers to replace him with Bryan Forster for the remainder of the series. Unlike many former child actors, Gelbwaks built an impressive career far away from Hollywood. He earned a degree in chemistry from the University of California, Berkeley, later completed an MBA at Columbia University, and went on to work successfully in management consulting and the technology industry, forging an entirely new professional identity outside of entertainment. By 2026, at 64 years old, Jeremy Gelbwaks lives a private life far removed from television fame. Based in New Orleans, he has focused his career on business ventures and artist management, choosing a path that bears little resemblance to the childhood role that first introduced him to millions of viewers. Danny Bonaduce as Danny Partridge. Danny Bonaduce was only 11 years old when he was cast as Danny Partridge, the quick-witted young drummer of the Partridge Family Band, in 1970. His sharp comic timing, boundless energy, and natural sense of humor instantly made Danny one of the show's biggest scene stealers, bringing laughter to audiences throughout all 4 seasons and turning Bonaduce into one of television's best-known child stars. After the Partridge Family ended, Bonaduce successfully reinvented himself as a radio personality, becoming one of Seattle's most recognizable broadcasters, while also appearing in reality television series such as Breaking Bonaduce. But the darker side of childhood fame followed him for years. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, he battled drug addiction, experienced periods of homelessness, and was arrested multiple times as his personal life spiraled out of control. Following several failed marriages, Bonaduce finally found stability with Amy Railsback, whom he married in 2010. Then, in April 2022, he began suffering alarming symptoms, including severe balance problems, slurred speech, and difficulty walking. After consulting more than 100 doctors without receiving an answer, he was finally diagnosed with hydrocephalus in March 2023. He underwent brain shunt surgery that June, and shortly after waking up, jokingly reassured fans with a social media post that read, "I'm alive, damn it." By 2026, at 66 years old, Danny Bonaduce's health has improved significantly following the operation. His speech and mobility have recovered considerably, allowing him to return to the radio career he has always loved while continuing to share his trademark humor with listeners. Dave Madden as Reuben Kincaid. Dave Madden was 38 years old when he joined the Partridge Family in 1970 as Reuben Kincaid, the endlessly frazzled manager of the family's band. With his impeccable comic timing, Madden turned Reuben into the perfect straight man, constantly finding himself driven to exasperation by the mischievous Partridge children, especially Danny Bonaduce. Their hilarious back and forth became one of the sitcom's most enduring highlights. Their bond extended far beyond the television set. During a difficult period in Danny Bonaduce's childhood, when his family life became unstable, Madden welcomed the young actor into his own home for a time. Bonaduce never forgot that kindness, later saying Madden was like family to him, a relationship that remained strong long after the series had ended. Following the Partridge Family, Madden continued working steadily in television, playing Earl Hicks on the sitcom Alice, while also making memorable guest appearances on shows such as Happy Days, Fantasy Island, and Starsky and Hutch. In his personal life, he was married to Nana Arnold from 1975 until their divorce in 1985, before finding lasting happiness with Sandra Martin, whom he married in 1998. On January 16, 2014, Dave Madden passed away at a care facility near Jacksonville, Florida, at the age of 82 from complications of heart and kidney failure. Paying tribute to her longtime co-star, Shirley Jones remembered him warmly, saying, "Dave was a wonderful man, and one of the reasons the Partridge Family was such a success." Bryan Forster as Christopher "Chris" Partridge. Bryan Forster stepped into one of television's toughest child actor recasts when he replaced Jeremy Gelbwaks as Chris Partridge at the beginning of Season 2 in 1971. Just 11 years old at the time, Forster took over the role of the family's young drummer and quickly won over audiences, appearing in the remaining 71 episodes until the Partridge Family concluded in 1974. Away from the cameras, Forster came from an extraordinary family background. Through his mother's side, he is a fifth-generation descendant of legendary novelist Charles Dickens. He is also related by marriage to Alan Napier, the distinguished British actor best known for portraying Alfred, Batman's loyal butler, in the classic 1960s television series. Unlike many former child stars, Forster chose a life almost entirely outside the entertainment industry after the show ended. Over the years, he worked as a teacher, later became a competitive race car driver in Northern California, and eventually joined a winery in Sonoma County. It was an unexpectedly varied career path for someone millions of viewers remembered as the cheerful young drummer of the Partridge Family Band. By 2026, at 66 years old, Brian Forster enjoys a quiet life in Northern California. He occasionally performs in local community theater productions and still makes appearances at the Partridge Family fan events, where he enjoys reconnecting with the audience that has never forgotten his time on the beloved sitcom. Rick Segal as Ricky Stevens. In the show's final seasons, producers introduced 5-year-old Rick Segal as Ricky Stevens during Season 4 in 1973. Playing the cheerful young neighbor with a love of singing, Segal brought an extra dose of innocence and youthful energy to the Partridge Family. His charming personality made an immediate impression, even though he joined the cast during the series' declining years. Despite Ricky's appeal, many television critics later viewed the character as a classic attempt to boost falling ratings by adding an adorable child to the cast, a strategy that ultimately failed to reverse the show's decline. Rather than remaining defined by his childhood fame, Segal worked hard to build a very different career. He shifted his focus to theater, establishing himself as a producer, director, and playwright. His original one-man show Barbarian, which he wrote and performed in Hollywood, earned praise, and he also starred in the musical Camelot at the renowned Pasadena Playhouse. Beyond the stage, Segal expanded into digital media and independent filmmaking. He became the co-creator and co-host of the popular YouTube channel Our Stupid Reactions, which has attracted more than 1 million subscribers, while also appearing in the independent feature film Old Ferguson. His career evolved into one driven by creativity rather than childhood celebrity. By 2026, at 57 years old, Rick Segal remains active in the independent arts community. Although audiences still remember him as the adorable little boy from the Partridge Family, he has spent most of his adult life creating, producing, and directing projects behind the scenes, proving that his talents extend far beyond the child star who first captured viewers' hearts. Gordon Jump as Albertson. Although his role was relatively small, Gordon Jump left a lasting impression as the grumpy neighbor Albertson when he appeared on The Partridge Family in 1970 at the age of 38. Appearing in just 7 episodes, he brought warmth and humor to the sitcom through the everyday clashes between his cantankerous character and the ever-optimistic Partridge Family, proving that even a supporting role could become memorable. At the time, Jump was still struggling to establish himself in Hollywood. A devoted member of The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, he lived by strict personal values and consistently refused roles he considered sexually explicit or gratuitously violent. That commitment sometimes came at a professional cost, with some believing his unwillingness to compromise made it harder for him to find work during the early years of his career. His persistence ultimately paid off. In middle age, Jump landed the career-defining role of radio station manager Arthur Carlson on the classic sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati from 1978 to 1982. He then became familiar to millions of Americans as the iconic Maytag Man, starring as the dependable repairman in the appliance company's national advertising campaign for 14 consecutive years, making him one of television's most recognizable commercial spokesmen. Gordon Jump retired from acting in 2003, hoping to enjoy a quieter life with his family. Sadly, only a few months later, he passed away at the age of 71 from complications of pulmonary fibrosis. By 2026, more than 2 decades after his death, he is still remembered not only as the lovable neighbor from the Partridge family and the unforgettable Maytag repairman, but also as an actor admired for staying true to his principles throughout a long and respected career. Rosemary DeCamp as Grandma. Amanda Renfrew. Rosemary DeCamp was 59 years old when she appeared as the kind-hearted Grandma Amanda Renfrew in The Partridge Family in 1970. Although her time on the series was brief, she brought warmth and wisdom to the role, serving as a comforting presence for the Partridge family. By then, DeCamp was already one of Hollywood's most respected veteran actresses, with a career spanning radio, film, and television. Away from the screen, she enjoyed a remarkably stable personal life. DeCamp was married to Judge John Ashton Schindler for 57 years, from 1941 until his death in 1998, and together they raised 4 daughters. Yet even that happy family life was interrupted by an extraordinary brush with disaster. In 1946, she and her husband narrowly escaped death when the experimental XF-11 aircraft crashed into their Beverly Hills neighborhood. The plane tore through a nearby home and one of its wings crashed into the Schindler's bedroom. The pilot was billionaire aviator Howard Hughes, who later personally paid for the damage caused throughout the neighborhood. Throughout the decades that followed, DeCamp continued building an impressive body of work, becoming one of the most dependable character actresses of Hollywood's golden age. Her long career stretched across multiple generations of entertainment, from the golden era of radio to classic films and television. On February 20th, 2001, Rosemary DeCamp passed away in Torrance, California at the age of 90 from complications of pneumonia. Her death marked the end of a remarkable career that had lasted for more than half a century, leaving behind a legacy of grace, professionalism, and unforgettable performances across every major era of American entertainment. Gary Dubin as Punky Lazar. Gary Dubin was just 12 years old when he joined the Partridge family in 1971 as Punky Lazar, the mischievous best friend of Danny Partridge. Although he appeared only periodically throughout the series, Punky's playful personality and natural chemistry with Danny Bonaduce made him a memorable part of the show's later seasons, remaining a familiar face until the sitcom ended in 1974. As he grew older, leading acting roles became increasingly difficult to find. But Dubin never gave up on the entertainment industry. Instead, he reinvented himself as a voice actor, becoming one of the most sought-after English-language dubbing performers for Japanese animated productions throughout the 1990s and early 2000s. It was a successful second career that allowed him to remain active in the business even as on-screen opportunities became less frequent. At the same time, Dubin continued appearing in supporting film and television roles. Movie fans may best remember him as Eddie Marchand, one of the unfortunate victims attacked by the shark in the blockbuster Jaws 2 in 1978, a performance that remains one of his most recognizable live-action appearances. On October 8, 2016, Gary Dubin passed away in Burbank, California, at the age of 57. His sister later confirmed that he had died after a long and courageous battle with bone cancer, bringing to an end a career that quietly spanned decades across both live-action television and voice acting. Elaine Giftos as Bonnie Kleinschmidt. Elaine Giftos was 27 years old when she appeared as Bonnie Kleinschmidt, the charming flight attendant who became the girlfriend of the Partridge family's long-suffering manager, Reuben Kincaid. Although her role on the Partridge family was brief, her warmth, confidence, and natural charisma made Bonnie a memorable guest character and helped further establish Giftos as a familiar face on American television. The appearance added momentum to an already promising career. Giftos went on to showcase her versatility in both film and television, appearing in Woody Allen's comedy Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex, but Were Afraid to Ask, in 1972, while also earning recognition for her recurring role as Bobby Marsh on the medical drama The Interns from 1970 to 1971. Over the following decades, she continued building a steady career through numerous television guest appearances across a wide variety of genres. By the late 1990s, however, Giftos chose to leave acting behind and begin an entirely different chapter. Rather than remaining in Hollywood, she stepped away from the spotlight and established herself as a professional feng shui design consultant in California, trading film sets for a quieter and more personal career. By 2026, at 81 years old, Elaine Giftos has completely retired from public life. After spending decades working across American television and film, she now enjoys a peaceful retirement, remembered by fans as one of the many talented character actresses who helped bring warmth and charm to some of television's most beloved classics. Mitzi Hoag as Miss Farrow/Mrs. Ferguson. Mitzi Hoag was 37 years old when she appeared in The Partridge Family, playing two different supporting roles: the strict schoolteacher, Miss Farrow, and the talkative neighbor, Mrs. Ferguson. Her versatility and effortless comedic timing once again demonstrated why she had become such a familiar face on American television, leading to appearances in series including The Andy Griffith Show and later the sitcom We've Got Each Other. Those memorable guest roles helped sustain a career that flourished for decades. Hoag also built an impressive resume in film, appearing as Anne Lind in the 1970 drama Pieces of Dreams, while television audiences came to know her especially well as the recurring character Evie Green on The Facts of Life, where she appeared throughout much of the series' run from 1979 to 1988. Whether in comedy or drama, she became one of Hollywood's most dependable character actresses. On February 26, 2019, Mitzi Hoag passed away at her home in Sherman Oaks, California, at the age of 86. Her passing brought to a close a long and devoted career, leaving behind the legacy of a gifted character actress whose work became part of countless classic American television series. So that wraps up today's look at the Partridge Family cast in 2026. Which member of the Partridge Family surprised you the most? And whose journey since the early 1970s did you find the most unexpected? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest then and now updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.